You're listening to the Happening Next Door podcast with your host, Nosy Neighbor.
My guest this episode is a talented courtesan, Misty Lane, currently at the Sagebrush Ranch, or that's where her venue is. Thank you, Misty, for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, courtesan, that's something that is a new term for me, and it's kind of a new term for you. You started in the industry in 2017.
I did.
What made you do a leap like that?
Honestly, curiosity. I was a stay-at-home mom, married, kids, soccer mom, did all that. Unfortunately, a divorce came into the picture and I tried doing my own thing for about 2 years and I was struggling. And I was like, you know what? Let me look into the Bunny Ranch because we are all one company. I had actually seen a documentary about the Bunny Ranch, and that's what made me kind of apply. I got into the industry really just kind of curiosity and by chance, and it was never a plan, right? So,
did you view yourself as a sexual person beforehand? I mean, you were married and had kids, but was that something you enjoyed exploring?
I have learned so much about myself in the past, 7, 8 years now. No, I got married very young, so I was not real secure with my sexuality or anything like that. I was just kind of like probably a boring lay. I'm not going to lie. My ex-husband probably thinks I'm the worst courtesan, as you say, in the world because I did not learn about my own sexuality or any of my actual needs until I started in this business. So, yeah.
Now, one of the things that I have come to enjoy about doing this and talking to several different girls at several different ranches is I think there's a perception of that, you go to the brothel and it's just a bunch of girls with their legs open and you pick one and do it. But there really is a lot of differences in the women. And one of the things that I wanted to do was you all have your kind of bios and your pictures and stuff like that, but it's really missing personality. And I really wanted to do this to kind of show personality in women doing this. Some of the women are very open about nudity. They have, naked pictures. They have social media where they're naked and stuff like that. There's others with their face covered up. That the only time you get to see what they really look like is at the ranch. As beautiful as you are, and as for long as doing this, it's hard to find a naked picture of you. Most of your pictures are lingerie, and it's basically a lot of stuff you could almost show your parents too that isn't overly offensive. I mean, yeah, it's lingerie, but I mean, bathing suits usually show more. Is that a conscious decision? What made you kind of go that route?
That is so funny that you said that. When I started in the business, I was very much in secret. I had, I think, 3 people in my personal life that knew what I was doing. And I just wanted, I'm like, I'm going out to Nevada. This is where I'll be if you don't hear from me in a few days. So it was very secret. So I hid my face. I didn't show my face for probably close to a year. And that was I am a Midwestern mom. And I have a very vindictive ex-husband. So I knew sooner or later he would find out, and as he did. So once my children, who are all adults, they were all in their really late teens, early 20s when they found out, and that made it a lot easier for me. But so I decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in, and decided to not blur my face anymore. However, I still wanted to maintain. I'm older. I'm one of the older ladies. I didn't start this business till I was 40, and I come from like the Playboy generation, and I believe in trying to keep a little things sexy. You can't give them everything. So I've always done that with my social media. I keep it very PG-13 on Twitter, maybe, or X, or whatever it's called now. But yeah, so I do have people that I care about in my life, and I don't ever want to bring any disgrace to them, even though they know what I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, I mean, I have a love in doing this. I have a love-hate relationship with that philosophy. I totally love it. But I also, as a guy consumer, in thinking of like, in looking at the girls to, like, I'll be honest, I have been interviewing girls that if I was to go to a brothel, I'd be interested in, because there's no point in me interviewing someone that I just have no. I mean, eventually I make it down to that point where, I need more guests, but I've been interviewing guests that would intrigue me if I was to do it. So you're on that list.
So
But at
I
the same,
appreciate that.
but at the same time, I'm also a nipple guy, and so it
Okay.
drives me nuts that I cannot find your nipples anywhere. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah,
Um,
you can find them. They're not free.
I'll have to look harder then.
Yeah.
But so doing that, you have the kids. If you're, I don't know if you have boys or girls, but if they ever expressed interest in working in a brothel, would that be something that you've kind of faced in your own mind of like, this is a possibility? Does it ever occur to you that they might have that kind of same epiphany that you had? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, actually. Okay, I have two boys and a girl. My daughter is my youngest, and she's 21 now. And since she found out what I was doing, I always have completely been open with her about the business. That it's, first of all, it's not what people think. It's not as dirty and seedy and all that is, but it's also not as glamorous as it comes off. And I don't want her to do this. And so I'm like, I stress that she gets an education and not just, like I got married right out of high school. So I didn't have my education to fall back on. So that's my thing. I push on her. If she ever did decide to do this, I mean, I can't be a hypocrite. I would support her, but I would teach her how to do it the right way. So yeah, like it's not a bad business to be in, and it's like it's people sex work, sex work, sex work. Everybody hates sex work, but it's not what everybody thinks. Like you said, people think they're going to walk in and see like naked women, and it's like you see less here than you see in a strip club when you walk in the doors. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question. I tend to ramble.
No, you're absolutely perfect. One of the things that I think there's a lot of judgment, a lot of assuming and stuff like that in the industry, but yet you're not doing anything illegal and
No.
you're confined to the law. There's a lot of rules and regulations. Does that help or hinder in your mind? Would you like to see kind of a loosening of the laws, or how does that work? Because one of the things that drives me, like one of the things that actually scares me if I thought about going to a brothel, was I wouldn't want to insult you. I don't want to show up and say, I'm interested in this and here's what I'm looking to pay. And you go, oh my God, you clearly have no clue what this is about. Yet at the same time, I don't want to come with you for an exorbitant amount for, something as simple as a hand job.
Right.
So I think fear and not knowing, I'd almost be more comfortable if there was a menu that said, this is this and this is that. Is that something that you enjoy, that you can make your own kind of rules, or does that hinder and kind of put people off to not want to offend you?
To be honest, I do get that quite a bit. Gentlemen will come in and be like, I haven't been here in 30 years. I know things have changed. I don't want to offend you. This is what I have. And every lady in the house is different. So even if his minimum his maximum doesn't meet my minimum, doesn't mean he can't have a good time here. But it does hinder sometimes. However, I find that I really don't even know how to answer this. No, it doesn't hinder me. People, okay, so they come in, we can't talk prices, and that is a legal law. I personally won't offer a menu because everyone is different. And say a party who is looking for, 4 hours of physical energy, opposed to somebody who's looking for 4 hours who wants to go to dinner and dancing, is going to be a different rate. So me personally, I kind of do like more of like the outdate thing. and the girlfriend, let's go out and have a good time on the town together, not just the bedroom stuff, you know?
Mhm.
So it, to me, no, it doesn't hinder me so much because I have my, I'm a little different than everybody else. I don't know.
Now, when you're living at the ranch, you're paying rent.
Yes.
So there's an incentive to get clientele. Is your fee structure, is that almost set in stone? Is there flexibility? If it's a rainy day in Nevada and no one's coming in and some young gentleman comes in very nervous and says, "Here's all I have," is there tendency to say, "I know my value. This is my value. I'm sorry. We can find other things to do, but what you want doesn't match"? Or do you say, "If this is all I'm going to get today because it's a slow day, I'm willing to kind of change things"? Is there some flexibility, or is it kind of based on the personality?
No, no, no. It's absolutely, well, yes, it's based on personality. If you're a gentleman, you're absolutely going to get a little bit. If you come in here and you're an asshole, you're going to get my highest price. But if you come in and you're a gentleman and you treat me like a lady and you explain what happened, like what's going on, then I'm definitely going to work with you. And even if I can't necessarily, I don't ever have anything set in stone. I do have a minimum that I'm pretty much that is a set in stone, but I've been known to give in on that as well. But even if I can't offer what you're looking for, if you are open and honest with me and tell me what you are, exactly what you're looking for, and exactly your budget, I can usually set you up with the right lady in the house. So it's just kind of all about kind of communication, really.
So you're aware of kind of the other pricings of the other girls, and you might sometimes steer.
Oh, no, 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 no. Don't say that. No, I don't know anybody's pricing. And that's not how it works. If he say he's looking to be tied up and whipped, I know the lady's specialties. It's not the
Gotcha.
pricing, it's the specialties. If he's looking for, something that I don't offer and he tells me what he's looking for, I can steer him in the right lady. No, not pricing wise as far as activities. All of us honestly are really very similar in our minimums. So we're kind of very similar in pricing. So it doesn't really matter.
How
In that.
much has how much has porn kind of influenced not all the customers, but some of the people that come in? I mean, it's there's some porn sites that are more consumer friendly and romantic, more focused on the women and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff, especially the free stuff out there, the content tends to be a little bit more rough and aggressive. Is there a group that is being raised to see that as the normal way to treat someone and then come in expecting, that kind of language, or is that something you shut down right away?
Honestly, I don't run into that a whole lot. I get very respectful men who never, and if they do want something that say they saw in a porn and they're like, I want to reenact that, everything is discussed and my boundaries are set, and if no, they don't like I've never had anybody be aggressive with me as far as that. If that's sweet. Sorry.
You're fine. You've been doing this for a few years now. You're a beautiful young woman. Is there still an opportunity for Misty Lane to be a real woman, or is it all kind of business? I mean, are you able to have a real relationship? Are you able to flirt with a guy or have a relationship outside of work that doesn't feel like work? Can you have sex with them without it feeling like another customer? How do you separate the two? Because as a woman, you have your own needs that may or may not be getting satisfied during these encounters. When do you find time for you as a woman?
That's a good question. I honestly, like I said in the beginning, I kind of just jumped into this industry and I was very naive. I didn't know anything about it. And I didn't set any boundaries between Misty Lane here at the ranch and then outside Misty. I didn't, I was just, it all became a blur. And then that was for about 5 years. I didn't have a whole lot of boundaries. I had clients texting me day and night, even during COVID when we were shut down. And finally, I probably about 2 years ago, I returned. I had left for a little bit And no, it was about a year ago. I came back and I had to set some firm boundaries. Like when I'm at work, I'm here for everything. When I'm home, it's to my leisure. I will check my emails and my social media, um, like every other day. But anyway, as far as relationships, it's hard to date when you're in this industry if you date outside of any kind of sex work. Because I've run into gentlemen that I've dated, been with in relationships in the past who, they're so excited and they jump right in and say, oh, everything's great. This is the great, no problems with what you're doing. And then, a few months down the road, they have problems with it. So I'm trying still to find that balance.
Do you see, I mean, at this point, you've been doing it for a few years. We have the new Superman movie coming out where we have Clark Kent and we have Superman, and one is a real identity and one is the made up identity. Has Misty Lane kind of become your main identity, and then going home kind of almost become the fictional identity? Or which one do you find after doing it for this many years is the real you versus kind of a persona that you have to put on?
Right. When I first started, like I said, I hid my face and I didn't want anybody to know. So I tried to have this fake story. And it lasted about 2 weeks because I couldn't remember it. And I am the type who I'm open. I'm an open book and I tell you everything. So for years, I took on Misty. I lived as Misty. When I dated during like COVID, during my Bumble days, I was just looking for something to do. I was on there as Misty because Misty is very similar to who I am in my real life. But I am learning the balance so when I go home I can turn it off. But I mean I'm me. Misty is Misty is Misty. It doesn't matter what my name is. I'm always going to be me.
And I think a lot of it is the fact that it isn't all about sex, and that the personality that you're conveying as Misty is your personality. And so the part that you're kind of shuffling is the sexual part.
Absolutely, because I do want to be known more than just she's a great lady. I've had years where people are like, oh, you're so much prettier in person, or we didn't know you could even speak, because like you said, I'm very demure on my social media. So I'm trying to get better at that and like show my personality a little more, because I'm a good time. And it's not all about sex.
Now, keeping it about sex for a little bit longer, when you go home and you're at home, you're by yourself, not to get too graphic, but masturbation, is sex something on your mind? Does it feel like work? Are you able to kind of distance yourself and say, this is me time? Yeah, I might perform in front of someone or I might masturbate in front of a client, but this is now me time and no one else is watching, so I'm going to enjoy this for me. Or is it like being at work?
I want to say it's all pretty much the same. Like I always enjoy it, of course. The one difference when I'm home and like just in my normal environment and just kind of relaxing and I pull out my little friend and play with her, I don't have to worry about what my face looks like, for one. Like I think I'm always like, I have this weird sex face. So I can just go with it. But you know what? Otherwise, no, it's just I'm me. And it doesn't matter where I'm at. That's why I have such a hard time separating the two.
And what kind of clients do you find that you are a draw for?
I tend to have older gentlemen that like come visit me, a lot of widowers. No, I get the ones who are looking for companionship rather than the sexual experience. If they're looking to get like a porn star lay and all that, yes, I can arrange that for you. I have lots of friends and you can get the best of both worlds with us. But I don't know if you're necessarily going to get that from me. I am definitely more of the let's go out in the town and I'll show you a good time.
Now, is there anything that you kind of hinted that there's some things that you don't do Can you give us some examples of those things?
I'm not going to give any specific examples because I'm always open to things.
Okay.
I don't have any hard no's, so I don't ever want to put that out there. And just kind of, it's like after we talk and if we vibe, if we're comfortable together, it kind of, I go by vibes before I say no to anything.
So it's really about the mindset and how their approach is, and maybe even explaining where they're coming from of why they're interested in doing this.
Well, yeah, that makes a big difference. If a guy's just coming in to get laid and have fun, that's going to make a big difference from a guy who says, I lost my wife 6 months ago, a year ago, and I'm very lonely. Of course, that's going to get a totally different response. So, yes, it kind of, it's one of those things, just like the race, everything changes.
Mm-hmm. What is your feeling about younger gentlemen, virgins and stuff like that, especially being a mom yourself? You just had a daughter that turned 21, I think you said.
Yes.
I've talked to some that say I won't do that kid experience just because I have kids my own age, and to them it was weird. I think it would be again, the fantasy in me. I think it's a wonderful thing because I remember when I was 18, my first time, I didn't know what I was doing. Neither did the girl that I was with know what she was doing. It was enjoyable, but I think coming to someone like you would be greatly enjoyable. So is that something that is on the table? Is that something you enjoy? Is that something that's a little bit weird for you?
I'm going to be honest. Yes, it is a bit weird for me sometimes. Again, it kind of goes off like the energy they give if they are anything like my kids, because I do have 2 boys, 24 and 30. And so it's hard for me to stay away from the 30-year-olds because they tend to, like the MILF thing and the whole Stacy's mom. So I kind of try to block that out. But if they remind me of anything to do with my kids, I'm out. And I'm like, let me introduce you to another nice lady. But you know what? I like being that hot mom. I think that's what my signature is now. I changed it to like the sexy MILF next door because I'm trying to embrace it. I'm trying to embrace my elderness.
Do you
I don't
feel
know if that's a word, but
do you feel that there is a pressure to that you're competing against? Because I guess I don't view it as a competition. You might be into the 18-year-old looking, petite, woman, but you also might be interested in the big breasted, beautiful, mature woman. So I think it's all a matter of taste. Do you feel that there is competitive? Are you always looking in the mirror going, how do I stay younger? Or do you embrace the milfness?
I am learning to embrace. Okay, I'm 48. I don't mind saying my age. That's my real age. But I do see, especially in this business, it's absolutely hard when I have like 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are absolutely stunning. And I'm like, oh, but I'm trying to embrace it a little more. And I understand that there is a market for me as well. There's someone for everyone. So I'm trying not to take aging as hard as I thought I would.
Do you feel, I mean, you've been doing this for several years now, and being the mature woman, do you feel kind of a motherly obligation to some of these younger courtesans? Is it something that you treat them almost like your kids someday, or is it just everyone for themselves? You need to figure it out.
It depends on the girl, and that's horrible for me to say. I don't big sister anymore because they would typically put girls with me who were like similar to my personality, and we always seem to clash. So if there's several younger girls in the house now, and I'm starting to feel, before it made me feel weird because I do have a daughter that age, but now that my daughter is getting a little bit older and she's understanding and asking questions, and then I see girls coming in who are her age, it does make me want to mother them, some more than others. It's just I always go on vibes and a bond. And yeah, so some of the younger girls I want to take under my wing now and teach them the way.
What has been some of the, I mean, you were married, you had kids.
Yes.
Were you bisexual before all this?
I was, no. I was like straight laced. Like, I think I had, when I got married, I think I had been with like 4 sexual partners before that. So, no. And I was very content being married and being the mom. And, I've always been a little bi curious, but I never explored that because I never was in the environment or had the opportunity to do so until I came out here. And then it kind of blossomed in me.
And is that, I mean, what are some of the things that you discovered, not necessarily sexually, but what are some of the big discoveries you found about yourself? Because this was a big leap for you to do this. Not only, the separation, but coming into the sex industry. I would assume you learned a lot about yourself, both sexually and not. What are some of the big takeaways that you discovered about yourself, good or bad?
You know what? This has probably been one of the biggest blessings that's come into my life because it has made me learn so much about myself. I've learned all these great things sexually that I was always afraid, I was embarrassed to explore because I wasn't raised in a sexual household. And I was always taught that, sex is just, pretty much for the guy. So it took me getting into this to understand, like, hey, this can feel good for me too. This is a fun time. And I've also have my mind has been opened to so many different things since I can't even name. I am a completely different person than I was the day I walked in the doors here. For a good change though.
Is there, I mean, I know they have like a manager at the ranch and stuff like that. Is there, looking back, is there a good process for taking in the women, or is it kind of sink or swim? We might pair you up with someone to kind of go through the ropes, but is there a good kind of mentoring of what to expect, or is a lot of it just, you're gonna have to have your first customer and kind of realize what you're doing and open your world?
No, and from what I understand, like every brothel is different. I started my very first tour was at Sagebrush Ranch. So I just kind of go by here and I've been to one other brothel. So I don't know. But here and the other place, they give you a big sister. She teaches you the ropes. If you've done any kind of sex work before, then you usually have some kind of experience. So she kind of goes over everything with you and then you read the book and all that good stuff, but they don't throw you to the wolves. If you're willing to learn, they're willing to teach you anything. The problem is a lot of girls think they know it all and they come in and they don't want to learn. Working at a brothel is completely different than working anywhere else. So you have to learn the rules here.
When you first started, you were very shy. You kept your face hidden and stuff like that. You've opened up. You've been doing it a while. You do have some social media presence, but again, that's lingerie. Is there any desire to dabble into porn? You're one of the few that I've seen that I don't think has an OnlyFans page. Is that all deliberate to keeping it? This is what I do. This is what I enjoy. I'm not looking to be the porn star part of it. I'm happy with what I'm doing. Or is
Right.
this the evolution of you?
I do have an OnlyFans page. I haven't updated it in a while, so I don't promote it because the only things I promote are things that I am actively working on. Otherwise, if it's gone to the wayside and they've messaged me or something and I don't get right back, then I feel guilty. So I do have an OnlyFans. I do have a Playboy page as well. I don't do porn. And the things that I do on my OnlyFans and my Playboy is very like X-rated. It's not like I'm a prude or anything like that. I worry about my kids. That's my whole thing. If I didn't have my children like knowing what I did and all that, things would be much different. But I try to keep it as classy and tasteful as possible. And yeah, and I started later in life, so it's not like if I was 20 and doing this, that'd be different. But I'm not. So I know my limits. I know my good angles. I know my bad angles. So I don't know if porn is necessarily something I need to do.
I think all your angles look fine to me. Is there I don't want to say burnout because that indicates like a negative connotation of what you're doing. But does it ever get hard that when you do post stuff on Instagram, you're wearing lingerie or your cleavage is out, that you have to have this sexy pose or sexy thing that you can't just say, I'm at the grocery store picking up, watermelon without there being a sexual innuendo to it? Does it ever get frustrating? Because like no guy comes to a brothel and says, I'm looking for the smart one.
Right.
It's all judged on looks, and looks. Does it ever get frustrating to always have to feel that you're doing something sexual, even though you're just posting something on Instagram?
Right.
Is going back home, is that your escape? And is there people that you have that you're able to talk to, not necessarily your kids, but an outlet for you to be the woman, to say I'm going to the store, or be someone flirty with someone back home? Is there, how do you escape from that? And
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't know how long my boobs are fairly new. I got them over COVID. So when I started in this business, I didn't have these. I kind of enjoyed it I still enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I bought my boobs for a reason, so I'm showing them off. But before I had them, I was like, okay, well, what is my best asset? I'll show my legs. So I have no problem. I, I don't like certain terms. Every guy thinks if they text you or call you, they have to say, hey, beautiful. I don't like that. I don't like generic. That's the kind of shit or stuff I get from like when I'm like this. But if I pose like this or sideways without my boob showing, I get a little more respect. So I do understand the difference for sure.
does that, I mean, is that frustrating? Is that just part of the
I
business?
can see how it can be frustrating. It's getting there a little bit for me. But you know what? When I am out in public, say grocery shopping or whatever, I tend to dress down. I wear like hats, put my hair in a ponytail, no makeup. So I don't tend to get noticed anyway in a t shirt. So they cover this. I have been recognized and I do run into clients at times, but I keep it very professional. I never speak to them. I don't look at, I mean, I might glance at them and notice them, but I guess I don't because I have a distinctive laugh. I've been told, and I stand out. So I wear hats and I dress down, and that's how I keep from like people recognize me. I guess I don't know.
And you kind of open that door, and it has me curious. So if you were to see a client, you would not talk to them.
No, because my biggest thing is confidentiality in this business, which I thought I had coming in, even though I wasn't showing my face. I understand we have a lot of gentlemen that come in here that don't want to be known. They don't want their business partners or whatever, whatever their case is. So that's something that I would never cross that boundary. Your secrets are safe with me. And just like I hope mine are with you. But usually they're not with me.
What is the longevity that you see of doing this? Is this something that you have, now that you've been doing it, do you see doing it for as long as you can? What is,
Well,
I mean, your profiles all say, like, I think it was living the dream. What is the dream?
okay, it's chasing dreams.
Chasing the dream.
Yes. Okay, I tried to retire a few years ago. Or no, not a few. Yeah, well, now 3 years. I tried to retire because I didn't want, this is not like I would get too bored doing this. I can't sit still for very long and I'm very crafty, that kind of stuff. So I do upholstery. I want to start my own furniture business. I have a podcast starting. So I've got a lot of things in the works. So no, this is not my long term like what I'm doing. I'm trying to use this as like a
Platform for future
something.
financial
I
things,
don't
or
know anything, something. I don't know what I'm going yet, but I know that I thought about opening a food truck. I thought about being a vendor at like music festivals. I want to do something like that, and I just don't know what I'm doing yet.
what would the Misty Lane now say to the Misty Lane of 2017 as she's entering Sagebrush for the first time?
Oh my gosh. I would be like, be prepared for nothing and keep an open mind because it's a completely different world that I came from, but it's something that I completely embraced and I love it.
For anyone listening to this podcast and deciding to come and see you, what is the biggest way to win you over? Is there something that they can bring? I had one woman say, bring her flowers, and she gives a little extra treat. What's the biggest way to win you over?
You know what? The biggest way to win me over, the gifts are sweet, very sweet. I love the gifts, but it's neither here or there with me. I just respect my boundaries. Email me because I get a lot of DMs on all my social platforms, and I keep putting out there the best way to get a hold of me is by email, is because I don't check everything else. I check my emails daily. So I get gentlemen who get upset with me because I haven't responded, but I don't necessarily get every message that comes through on my social media. So that is one way to win me over, is just do what I ask. Email me, just tell me what you're looking for and that kind of thing. I don't need to be wined and dined, kind of just come in, have a drink, and talk and see what we're going to do.
Perfect. Well, Misty Lane, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I think it's fascinating. To have courtesans of all different kind of age groups talking, and not to make you sound old, because I find you incredibly gorgeous.
Mama.
But it's fascinating because what you see is a lot different than someone like some of the other guests that I've had on, because of your lived experiences. And so it's fascinating to hear different perspectives. And like I said, one of the reasons I did this is I really wanted to show the personality. And if one person ever comes in and says, I heard you on this podcast, I loved your laugh, that's really what this is about, is to show you girls as people rather than just objects of people's desires, although that is there too. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and I enjoyed this so much, and thank you for being respectful.